All right, Ike. Well, this week, heavy news week. I mean, we've actually kind of missed a couple news items over the traveling to Oregon and everything else that's been going on. But
lots have been happening.
There was a new Range Rover announced. I'm not sure if you noticed, but our good friend Leonard announced the new Range Rover Sport, which is sort of like, to me, it looks a little bit like a Range Rover, a little bit like the new Discovery, and they drove it up like a drainage canal, like a spillway somewhere in the Netherlands. It's pretty cool. What do you think?
Well, I think the sports, all of the different sports, the Discovery Sport, the Evoque Sport, the Range Rover Sport. I like having smaller version. It's like the fun size version of a Range Rover.
Yeah, the Halloween candy version of your full size chocolate bar Range Rover.
And unlike Halloween candy version, which is always a disappointment, I feel like smaller cars are more fun generally. Yep. And I'm waiting for the Defender Sport to come out.
I was just going to say, I think I may be a consumer for a Defender Sport. Maybe, I don't love the Bronco Sport compared to the full size Bronco, but I think, Land Rover's pretty good at the Sport.
In that context, that just means that the Bronco is a shittier version. The Bronco Sport is like the entry level, crappier version.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I think that people closely associate is like expense with size, but I want to see some nice small cars.
Yeah, I'd love to see an 80-inch sized new Defender. It would be a single passenger car because that all of the thickness of the doors and everything would make it so that it was like a Formula One car. But I could potentially buy that.
It would just be a Jimny. It would just be a Jimny, a little D.
That's all I want is a little D. It's just a little D in my life. That's all.
Yeah.
So also, Land Rover teased the new Defender 130, officially actually going to become a car. And notice that in the photo, they have it driving through the desert and spraying sand over the different part of the car, which I think is clever. I'm not sure if Nick Dimbleby shot that. Maybe he did, but it is a clever photo of the Defender 130. Although in some trademark and patent filing documents, there is a line drawing of the full car, as they needed to do that for compliance. But yeah, it looks cool. I mean, apparently the third row is actually like comfortable for a human being to sit in, as opposed to that available in the 110, and it is not a longer wheelbase. They did in fact confirm that.
It is not. No, I think that is absolutely true. It's still going to be the same 120-inch wheelbase as the standard 110. It just has a big old ass on it.
Yeah, it's got a big old gadonk. But it looks good. I think, again, I stand by the fact that I think the proportion of the 130 looks a little more like the classic 110 than the new 130 does.
Yeah, the new 110 has a very short overhang, which is great for a departure angle, but in terms of proportion, it definitely makes it look a little truncated compared to the classic 109 and 110s, which have a little bit of overhang over the rear wheel. So it just I think it's gonna I guess it depends a little bit on how it's styled, but I think it's going to be a little bit more proportional to that. It's a wider car than a 110 and it's going to be a little bit longer. And the combination is going to make it look a little more proportional. So,
yeah,
I agree.
Seats eight, comfortably seats 8.
Well, so, that's everyone who listens to the podcast can ride around in this car.
Yeah, that's true. And I think if you could get 9 people in that thing, I'm pretty sure if you smash in the middle of the back row, you could get another person in there. That, of course, also necessitates having the front middle seat, which is just awkward to have someone sitting there. Although, you and Linus and I took the 80-inch out on your rural property, sitting 3 up, and it was great. We had a great time.
The standard seating for an 80-inch is 7. It's 4 in the back and 3 in the front. So it only seats one more person than an 80-inch.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, now, it's probably marginally safer.
Just, maybe a tiny bit. But I don't know. That many people in a car, I don't know if safety is really job one. So speaking of safety being job one, after last week's incredible response to the first tip-top tarp tip, tarp pants, we have decided to make a run at Taco Tuesdays by making Tuesdays Tip Top Tarp Tuesday. So
Tip-Top Tarp
every
Tuesday.
week, as long as we can keep up the momentum to keep coming up with new uses for tarps, and we're happy to get your input on that as well, please send them in, and we'll subject Ike to just about any tarp shenanigans you can come up with. Tuesdays will from here on out be known as Tip Top Tarp Tuesday. So look forward to a new informative, educational tarp use reel available on our Instagram every Tuesday. So that's coming to you from your friends at the Underpowered Hour.
The most versatile piece of off-roading equipment is the tarp.
Yeah, it's no question at all. So, speaking of friends using tarps, we have our good friends Don and Greg joining us from the Northern California Land Rover Club, right in between you and I, up there in the Sacramento sort of greater area, to talk about the big event that they have coming up later this year. So let's get Don and Greg on the show. Let's throw some I don't know, maybe high test maple syrup in the interview machine and
oil-soaked confetti.
Ooh, fantastic! I have an oil-soaked story after we talk to.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear
it.
All
right, well, here they are. All right, we're here with Don and Greg from the Northern California Land Rover Club, way up north for me, south for Ike, but right in between us, like a Rover Club sandwich, if you will. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and thank you, most importantly, for sharing one pair of AirPods. I think that's definitely noteworthy. That's real commitment. So we appreciate it.
That's how you know it's a Rover event. Technical difficulties from the start.
That's exactly right. We somehow managed to get the podcast to leak oil. So no worries, but we appreciate you guys coming on. And so I thought we'd start it just for those people, as we have, a good portion of our listeners are actually in the United Kingdom. So for those who don't know, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Northern California Land Rover Club. So first of all, your sort of involvement in the club, how long it's been around, that sort of business.
Well, let's see. What year did the club officially start?
I think it's going on 16 years now.
So. Sounds about right. Yeah. So there was a predecessor club that kind of devolved, and Northern California Land Rover Club grew out of that. Greg and I are both board members. Greg's a former president, currently a VP, I believe. Mm-hmm. And we've been up here originally based primarily in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, but scattered all over. We've got members as far south as down at Pismo area, and we've got people up in Reno. Currently, we're sitting near Sacramento, and we've grown quite a few people in the Sacramento area now. So there's almost little subsets within the club. It's one club. Right. But we try to, have little gatherings each month that everybody can get together, some in the Bay and some up here and things. It's not always drive 100 miles to get somewhere.
To see another Land Rover. Yeah, that's great.
We actually have people just in Medford as well. We just recently joined some people in the Oregon area that are close to the California border that come down, and quite a few people in Nevada that are actually closer to the areas that we frequent more. So Northern California, it goes the whole way, but most of the stuff we end up doing is in the Sierra Nevada mountain range, which is, around Lake Tahoe, and Reno's much closer to that than we are.
Yeah. Well, Greg, that is an excellent bridge into not the only reason that you guys are here today, but certainly one of the big reasons is the world famous Rovicon event that you guys are holding later this year. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what is the Rovicon for those people who don't know?
Well, almost anybody with a four-wheel drive has heard of the Rubicon Trail. It is the most famous trail in the world. Some manufacturers have even named their vehicles after it. But it's right here in our backyard. From my house, I can be on the trail in 3 hours. From Greg's, it's 2 hours probably. Wow. It has a bit of a reputation. So depending on who you are, who you ask, some people will say, oh my God, it's a killer trail. And, you can't go in there unless you're on 40s. And 1-ton axles, and you're ready to totally destroy your vehicle and turn it to a raisin. And then you talk to the next guy who's it's nothing now. I could do it in my Prius, and since a lot of the Land Rover community overall is geared more towards, so let's say, touring in the Outback style, or overlanding in the popular vernacular, as opposed to rock crawling. We wanted a way to introduce the Rover crowd to this, must-do trail. It is, truly an icon, and put you in with a group of people who've run the trail, who are running like equipment, who can explain it to you, who can spot you through, who aren't going to just go out there and tell you to take the worst possible line because they want to see you break your stuff.
Right.
And it's just a way to get everybody together. Like I say, it's the iconic trail. You have to do it. And it's been good. This is our 4th year.
There's so many other events that are on this trail. I think that's one of the reasons we kind of got this idea was the club's been going out there, and before that, I know people with Land Rovers that were going out there prior to the club as well, and have stories and pictures. So it wasn't like a novel new thing, but it was, hey, all these other brand specific events are out there. We should host one ourselves. And since it does fall in kind of our region, if you will, within the club's designated region, like we kind of felt, well, maybe this is something that we should be owning. Like, it doesn't really make sense for the Southern California Land Rover Club to run the Rubicon event. Now they do, we do have members from SoCal and Arizona that come, and
we've got a decent contingent from the East Coast here that have been out. Texas. We get people from all over coming.
We've got like 6 trucks coming from the New England area this year.
Wow. That's great. So that's another great segue. What kind of cars do you have? Is it limited only to the most, rocked out Discovery ones, or what kind of vehicles show up?
Absolutely. Total raisins. Nothing but raisined up trucks.
With the minimum requirements we have on the website, I don't know specifically in front of me, but essentially 33s if you're a solid axle vehicle with front and rear lockers, bumpers, center diff lock that works.
Rear locker, yes, definitely.
Winch, with knowing that if you bring something like a Discovery 2 on 33s with those requirements, that you will take body damage. Not saying
you will, but there is always that possibility.
You should at least be comfortable with that idea that you might hit a quarter panel or a rear tail light.
Prepared for that eventuality.
Yeah. Then we recommend 35s, or but that's not a requirement. But a lot of the trucks are kind of on the larger side. But we've had several come through with 33s and do really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially we've quite a few series trucks coming through on 33s, and their short wheelbase is perfect for that. The longer 110s, they don't do so well in 33s just because it's that
breakover is just not there.
So then you kind of want 35s in that regard. This year we've opened it up to the independent front and rear vehicles.
First year for these guys.
We've not wanted to do that. But we've got so many of those, we haven't made a solid axle truck in almost 20 years, right?
I was going to say, so that would include Discovery 3, 4, 5, as well as obviously the new Defender.
And we've got a lot of club members asking about it, and we're like, we'd rather do one specifically with just those vehicles, but it's so hard to plan kind of trips to get out there. So we're like, okay, well, if you're going to bring one, it needs to be on 35s with a front rear locker. And a winch, same requirements, but we put the tire size to 35s.
Right.
So,
and how many of those cars are out there that are running that tire size? Because obviously that means modifying the modifying the car fairly significantly.
So, in terms of the late model stuff, not that many, and we know that. I think currently we have 2 late model 110s signed up.
Okay,
and
cool.
They're big. They are out of Denver, and
that makes total sense. Yeah,
on those, and it'll be really interesting. I haven't seen one in a proper crawling trail,
Right.
So it'll be really interesting to see how they do. And I should also say that these requirements we're setting out, it's not that you can't get through the trail if you have a smaller truck.
Yeah.
It's that you don't want to be running on a weekend in a big group and be the plug that's holding things up. And we don't want you to go out there and just tear your stuff up trying to get through.
Right.
Several years
now,
ago.
Ike and I are going to bring the official Underpowered Hour Freelander, but we plan on actually flipping it onto the roof and just towing it behind another car. I think that's probably the best way in sled mode to just pull it through that way.
I think you throw a set of Thornbirds on that baby and it's good to go.
Thornbirds.
Exactly.
That's a tire I haven't heard about in a while. Now, the Rubicon Trail was kind of made famous by the Jeep Jamboree, which was organized by Mark Smith in the 60s, I believe. And Mark Smith is, obviously pretty famous in Jeep circles for organizing that event and had some sponsorships from Jeep and Chrysler and so forth, but also a Land Rover enthusiast. He had a Series 2A, which I now have. And he also did a lot of scouting for the Camel Trophy in the 80s. So kind of an interesting tie-in with that history. And that event, came at a time before we had all these large tire sizes. So, the Rubicon Trail was run by primarily Jeeps, but some Land Rovers with 30s, 28s, 32s, maybe
lots
if
of
they
the
were
old
big.
Pictures you could see
30, 31,
some of the old pictures from the 50s. You can actually see, in early 60s, you see some of the old FJ40s from the Toyotas, as well as the Series 1s and Series 2s kind of mixed in. And then, the funny thing on the captions on the websites is always Jeeps running through the Rubicon on the Jamboree. It's
sure.
They're all just grouped together. They're all just one thing.
They started doing those events before they even made the FJ40. I think the FJ40 came out in 63 maybe. FJ25 was previous to that, and they didn't even have a low range at that time. So it's before Toyota four-wheel drives even had a low range, which is kind of interesting. But that was one of the benefits of having a Land Rover or a Jeep.
But an FJ25 weighs 9 ounces. It's like a newborn baby, so it's a little easier to just bounce it through there.
Light is right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Those Suzuki guys do pretty good on the Rubicon.
They sure do. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And what's the primary car that if you were to say, if I'm thinking about doing this and the car that you guys have found has the most success on the trail, what are most people that that are really successful running?
The two most attended, I would say, are Defenders and Discovery 2s.
Mm-hmm. And why the Discovery 2 specifically over the Discovery 1? Just there's more of them?
I think so, yeah. I think they're late, they're all the way up into 2004.
So the most capable rig is the least expensive.
Definitely. So I have this argument with friends. I run a Disco 1.
Okay.
And I argue against the D2s because, of course, less overhang in the rear.
Sorry to interrupt, but is it the one behind you on the wall?
Yeah,
no, that's one that crashed, actually. That's on the wall.
That one's long gone.
Oh.
If we were in my shop, it would be sitting on the lift right now with the steering box out of it. But yeah, mine has no roof either, so that makes it stand out.
Convertible Disco 1, right?
Yeah.
Lots of shots of it on my account actually over the last few years.
But
we'll have to repost some of those photos to our Instagram so people can get us. I love a convertible Disco. That's
I feel
great
like
spec.
the convertible Discovery with no roof is probably more weather tight than one with a roof.
I agree. Yeah.
I have run it in all weather from triple digits to snow and with icicles hanging down. It doesn't really seem to matter much.
And then people think you have a Bronco when you have no top.
Oh yeah.
Discovery,
oh, good point. You
it's
don't
been
have the
accused
steps
of being a Bronco several times and a Zuzu at least once. Yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, I think Don was going to say the Discovery ones are definitely shorter, so they turn to the rocks easier. But but we've had more people bring Discovery 2s on that.
But yes, we have had more Disco 2s. We've had pretty much every solid axle rig from Series 1s up through the Disco 2. We've had P38s, believe it or not.
Oh, cool.
a number of series trucks. Some of them are extremely modified, and some of them are pretty tame, honestly. The older series trucks, just like Ike was saying earlier, you can do a lot with them in relatively stock form. They clear a much larger tire. Right. They, have good angles, and they're lightweight, and no late model trucks.
The other thing about the Rubicon too is that there's so many lines on it. So like,
you can always make it harder if you want to.
Yeah, and then if you're shorter wheelbase, smaller tires, you can weave in and out of some of those large obstacles. So you want
that otherwise you'd be hung up in a bigger car. So what are some of your favorite parts of the trail? If if you're trying to encourage people to come up to do this, what are some things that are on the Rubicon that you really kind of can't get anywhere else?
Well,
the Granite Bowl,
the views are outstanding on this trail. Aside from the actual technical wheeling, it's a really great trail. We do this as a 3-day trip. We move and camp each night. Some people would call that rock landing, I suppose. But it's just enjoyable. Our first day is a short day. We come in at the Loon Lake entrance, drop through the Granite Bowl and past the iconic sign, welcome to the Rubicon. And that's, everybody has seen that. If you own a
famous
computer,
beer tree,
you've seen it. Yeah.
Which I think is
one
of these pictures back here.
Yeah. And you get that's the big open granite domes, the bowl as they call it. Then you get into the more traditional, tree lined and everything as you come up. Probably my favorite obstacle is the Soup Bowl. And I think every rock on the trail has a name. I can't begin to tell you all of them. But it's an optional line. You don't have to take it. But there's video out there of me getting up it and stuff. But
it was at one point in time not an optional line, which is also interesting if you go back into some of the pictures.
Interesting. Yeah.
And it's one of those lines that you can absolutely, underdrive, ultra low gearing, and you can crawl it, or you can be the Yahoo that just hammers down and smokes the tires until it goes or breaks.
Right.
I don't recommend step number 2. But you've got that. Of course, that's a real famous one. You just Google Soup Bowl and you'll find all sorts of them. Shortly after that, which is where we camped for the first night, you've got Little Sluice, which is, there is a bypass for that, although not many people use the bypass. That's another classic one. And it's just literally, there aren't too many lines you can take. It's a relatively narrow sluice full of large boulders that you have to crawl through. And come after that, you'll get up to, I like Arnold's Rock area. It's a nice little area there, and it's got the outhouse with the world's best view.
Yes,
that's worth noting. Yes.
Yeah.
So so we recommend everyone shows up on Thursday nights, and then you camp at Loon Lake, which is, you can explore the Granite Bowl and swim around Loon. But then if you do that, then you get 3 nights, or essentially 4 nights if you want, of water, a different wadi of water each night. So you start off at Loon Lake, and then the next night we stop and camp at Spider Lake, and then the Rubicon Springs, the famous, where they used to go, the mineral mud baths. The river going through it and the waterfalls is fun. And then the last day we exit onto the Tahoe side. So if you're not in any hurry, you could hang out at Tahoe and explore around. So there's kind of something cool to see and historic to see each night along the way.
Yeah. And it keeps the trail manageable. You don't have to have everybody hammer down trying to get through the trail. And yes, if you didn't have any traffic or break anything, I could get through there in a day, but I wouldn't enjoy it.
Exactly.
So breaking it up is just, it's better. You get time to hang out with everybody around the campfire, assuming, the simulated campfire because of fire permits. But, and have a beer with your buddies. And that's one thing. I will say this. This is the only event you're likely to go to that when you show up, we hand you your little arrival package and your beer, because free beer thanks to our beer sponsor.
That's right. That's right. I was listening that you guys do a great, the Northern California Club has a great podcast that I have been listening to. And you were talking about
both episodes?
Sponsor. Yeah, the club. Well, so far so good. You start with some, and then 66 7 episodes later, you're still talking about the same thing. But yeah, it's very cool. So your club is actually sponsored by, or one of the club members, I guess, owns a brewery there, and
so we have a couple of breweries amongst the club members. That one, he's the head brewer there for East Brother, and he's kind of become our unofficial beer supplier. I just dropped off a fresh rack for Greg here. Greg's into the IPAs.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But yeah, he keeps my shop at my place is kind of our unofficial clubhouse, since I have a lift and everybody can work on their rigs there. So he keeps me well supplied and everything. But yeah, East Brothers is a winner in all aspects. Can't go wrong.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, that's great. That's very cool to have that. So how do people sign up for this event? First of all, do you still have space available for the event? And if somebody wanted to sign up, could they still do so? And if so, how do they do it?
So as of recording, we do have 4 or 5 openings, I think, left. We do keep the number small because we don't want this to turn it. We don't want this to become the Jeep Jamboree, where there's 500 rigs and it's just
we just don't have the resources to do it without
we're keeping it small, and Rovicon.org will get you there.
Yeah, and so Rubicon.org is going to have you a lot more information about the event and kind of history of it, and then the actual signing up or buying tickets is through the NorCal Rovers Club actual store on the forum. So right now it's discounted for members and only open for members, and then in June it'll go open for the general public. The difference in price really is essentially the membership cost. So so if you're waiting for June, you're not really saving any money, but you don't get a membership out of it, so you kind of get less value, if you will, because you can't join the forum really cool. and see what's going on. So.
For those people who are thinking about doing this and are not sure what they're in for, are there pictures of past events on your website? Or
there are, and then we have an Instagram account for Rubicon.org as well.
Yep.
Cool.
And then again, if you join the club, there's a forum thread around people that are going. You can coordinate spare parts. We actually have a sponsor this year in Scully Off Road who's going to come out and bring some of his skill sets around getting you off the trail. He does a lot of work at helping people build their rigs to go on the trip, and then he's actually going to come this year and bring power welder and some other parts and help get broken rovers
at last year's Rubicon, thanks to the fires. He spent several hours rebuilding a swivel ball.
Series 2.
Stick welding together a cracked swivel ball.
Wow.
Now, if somebody had a broken Land Rover, could they bring it to the trail and have it repaired?
Ideally, you bring it in working order. That's one of the requirements. But, everyone's version of working order is
different. Yeah, it's the equivalent of bringing your dirty laundry home for Christmas to wash it at your parents' house. That's the I think that's technically I packed for this trip.
Steven, sounds like you have experience doing
still
that.
Do it to this day. Still do it. In fact, my washing machine has been broken for the last 2 weeks because there is a part supply shortage on the pump for my washing machine. So
I experienced that.
I am almost at that thing. I don't know. The supply chain hits us, and it isn't just new Defenders. Apparently, it's also washing machine pumps.
Is it a semiconductor that your washing machine is short on?
Very advanced. There's 19 computers, the same number in the new Defender in my washing machine. It has terrain response, 5 different modes. All kinds of different soil levels. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's got everything. And
will you guys be making it out there this year?
I don't think we'll make it up, but we'd love to in the future for sure. I think again, it's one of those things where if we can, we should definitely try to partner up and do something, maybe an episode live from the Rubicon. I don't think anybody's ever done that before, so I don't know what kind of satellite communication would be necessary. And there are some
satellite equipped
Starlink, right? We can just bring Starlink.
Yeah, let's do it. You're right. Exactly.
Do you remember the KM3 launch on the Rubicon a couple of years back?
I kind of ran into
them.
Yeah, okay.
And their satellite uplink vehicles were rovers built by, I forget who it was, on the East Coast. They had an
Atlantic
and a 90.
4x4.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
And
sure.
That's what they were using to support all these Jeeps that BF Goodrich was flying people in and out to drive just a short section.
Defender 110s on 37s that didn't actually run the whole trail.
3-foot big uplink dish mounted
came in through
Loon
and went basically towards Buck Island and kind of set up there, and then
Very cool. Yeah, well, and famously, the Camel Trophy trucks. Obviously, there was a satellite communications car in the latter half of the Camel Trophy in the 90s. There was a satellite truck, and they had the little dish they would put out at the back and everything. And it was we could do the same thing. I think that's the perfect way.
It's in the budget. Absolutely.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we have a nearly limitless podcast budget here, so no problem. Satellite comms, no problem. No problem. No problem. Well, guys, what else is going on at the Northern California Land Rover Club? If I've signed up for the Rovicon and I'm now a new Northern California Land Rover Club member, what other kind of stuff do you guys have going on?
We just did our first we called it like a rover landing. Essentially, it's like an expedition type thing. We're trying to get away from the word overland because rovers have been going on expeditions before that term was even kind of coined. But there's 3 segments of the Eastern Mojave Heritage Trail, and they did, I believe, segments 1 for a week.
500 miles off road, I believe.
Very cool.
They're going to try to do segments 2 or 3 later, and then they're going to kind of each year they're going to do a different kind of overland routes through California, through the Sierras, where the whole thing is to spend like the 4 or 5 days never seeing pavement. So that's
and those are geared towards lightly modified trucks.
Sure.
And we had everything from I think we had a near stock classic RRC to brand new 110s and LR3s and 4s and everything. The biggest risk there is, of course, the pinstriping in the desert.
Yeah, I mean,
and tires. They did cut a few tires along the way.
I mean, those trucks really need to move fast through off road. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing you want. You don't want something on 35s and 37s that's gonna.
Yeah, I mean, I take my LR3 when I do these types of trips. Yeah.
But I mean, so just a standard Rover with a +1 or +2 tire size does great on these kinds of things. And then all your camping stuff you need. If you're bringing the whole house, you can do that. If you're bringing nothing, you can do that too. And
one of these days, I'm going to learn how to drive an automatic transmission and come.
Yeah, we're working on it. We've got some. We're going to put Ike through some driver's training. Bob Ives tried last weekend to no success, unfortunately, but he's working on it. He's working on it. It's the constantly. Trying to shift the.
You get the LR3 with the or LR4 with the Netflix conversion for the stereo system, and you just put it in cruise control and go, right?
And just go, and you sit in the back seat and enjoy the ride. Yeah, no, exactly. I think that those trips are very cool, and it's neat that you guys are doing that. Yeah.
Otherwise,
lightning round.
The club. Go ahead. I would say that the club has the members organize things all the time. So
we just came back from one of our. We do a monthly off-road gathering. Typically it's the first Saturday. We pushed it this last one because of Mother's Day, but we go out and do just a day or overnight trip, and those are geared towards everybody. This one was a mild bit of crawling. We had a stock 110, had to winch one point, but he was on street tires. But he's also a very experienced driver. And then, up to some very built Disco 2s and some weird Ram truck thing. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. There's always going to be
there's always that guy.
There's always that guy.
But we're a pretty active club.
Cool. That sounds fantastic. Well, if you're in the Northern California area or traveling to Northern California, people can find out more on your website. We'll put that in the show notes as well. And hopefully you get a fully booked Rovicon, and I'm sure you will. There's no question. And great to see that people are coming from all over the country to join you guys for that. And hopefully in the near future, we'll try to join you guys for a future event. But without further ado, it is time for by far the most rigorous lightning round questions in the Rover podcast world. Of the three of us, this is the most difficult set of questions. So, Ike, do you have the lightning round questions?
I do. Here from the home office in Sioux City, Iowa, we have a rigorous round of questions for you, and because there are two of you today, I think we're going to alternate answers, if that's okay. We'll start with Greg.
Yeah, that's the most difficult way, the most dangerous configuration.
So if you've listened to the show, you'll know that this is a quick or short question and followed by a quick or short response, and we'll roll through these. The goal is to get your first gut feeling on these questions. So, Greg, are you ready?
I am.
All right. Coils or leaves?
Leaves.
All right. Nice. Don, soft top or hard top? I already know the answer to this, by the way.
I'm going to say soft top, yes.
Nice. I figured. All right, Greg. Gas or diesel?
Gas.
All right. How about Don? We got a tire size question: 750/16 or 37s?
I'm going to have to take 37s, although I've got a set of 40s sitting in the shop.
40s, are those big enough? You got to go 53s.
There's only so much you can do on a Salisbury axle.
I mean,
you got to know your limits.
35 spline Salisbury.
That's the next rig. Yes, those are already the parts are accumulating.
Dump truck tires. Yeah.
Spencer or Maurice Wilkes, Greg? Which one?
Maurice Wilkes.
Maurice. Good answer. All right, Don. ARB or Lincoln Locker?
I'm going to have to take the ARB.
ARB. All right. Fancy pants. Okay. Greg, best way to remove gear oil from your underpants?
Throw them away.
Good answer. Good answer. All right. Good answer. Well, I think you guys you got 8 out of 8.
Yeah, you've run the gauntlet. A perfect score. Well done,
do we
boys.
win like a gift certificate to Nando's or something?
Yes,
well,
it will be in the
working. Yeah, we're working closely with the Nando's people on that. But yeah, thank you guys for. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as much piri sauce as you can drink in a single sitting. Thank you guys again for joining us. We appreciate it, and good work up there. Good luck with the event. I'm sure it will be a ton of fun. We'd love to get some updates from you guys as you go, and we'll share that with the 9 people that listen to this show, and 4 of them are here. With all the best of luck, and thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you guys.
Hey. Take it easy, fellas.
All right. Well, Rovicon is going to be spectacular. I can't wait until we can do a live uplink from Rovicon, like that guy that they get to go stand out in the hurricane just to prove to you that there's a hurricane going on. You got to get some guy holding onto a mailbox telling you how windy it is. I'd like to set that up for us on the Rovicon if we can. So
yeah, that'd be great.
I think it would be. So to end off the show today, we have a bunch of shout outs to give out, a bunch of people that we want to recognize and thank. The first group, Ike, is probably the most important group to us, bar none, no other human being, is our group of patrons. So we have the highest tier of our patron following entitles people to a shout out on the show. So here it is. We finally have a critical mass.
These people are real Land Rover enthusiasts.
They are, and we thank, of course, all of our patrons, but the others have asked to stay anonymous, which makes total sense. But Andrew, Mark, Mitchell, Steve, and Tyler, our good friend Tyler, are all high overdrive Patreon supporters, and they make this show possible. So without them, that may be the total audience of the show. Who knows?
We really appreciate it, though.
We really do. They are wonderful to continue to give Ike and I the means to do this silly show every week, now in our 66th week of doing this. When will we stop? Who knows? Also,
if you pay enough,
there's another tier that will just make us stop doing this. No one has yet committed those kind of funds, but there is an emergency ripcord if you need. But we want to thank people who are out there in the world, both talking about the show and who let us know when there are great Land Rovers out in the world. We got a great Facebook Facebook message from Michael McClung this weekend, who was at the Dixon Car Show and ran into our good friend Rusty Newman. And he was apparently talking up the show to anybody who would listen, which was, I imagine, alienating groups of people en masse, driving people away as if with a vocal stick. And of course, Rusty owns a really cool 65 2A, and
nice looking truck.
Is a consumer of the Pangolin 4x4 classic parts, and they're it's a neat looking truck, neat looking show. Quite frankly, I looked at some of the Dixon Car Show stuff on Instagram. Looks like a cool little show and fun. And then of course I had the huge pleasure of having our good friend Vlado all the way from Slovakia here at the Barris Collection Workshop this weekend. Of course, Land Roverista on Instagram is Vlado's handle. Vlado does some fantastic restoration work and sourcing of really clean, really original series Land Rover. And Andy came over with his 2A, which was sourced from Vlado with all of Slovakia, the crazy Soviet era labels and things inside the car. Really neat car, long wheelbase 2A with a diesel tank separate for the heater. Yeah, it's that's that gray color, very Soviet color, that the gray, and had neat little wiring diagrams inside, sort of riveted to the side panels, and cigarette trays on the C pillar in the back seat, like just all kinds of cool.
It's the embodiment, the vehicular embodiment of a Soviet era apartment block.
It really is. It really is fantastic. And Andy just loves it. And those guys came over for a visit and hung out here. And I recommend anyone coming from Slovakia to Los Angeles to please stop in here at the workshop, and we'll give you a T-shirt.
Soviet era 109. It says Soviet era apartment block. It holds a lot of people in relative discomfort. I mean, and they're all smoking.
Right. And they're all smoking. Yep, exactly. And there's some questionable wiring happening. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. It is a great car, and it was so great to see really them. Cool. And Vlado's doing some super cool work. If you haven't checked out Land Roverista on Instagram,
give him a shout.
Yeah, he's got some. And if you're in Slovakia, I'll be there in July. We're gonna try to hang out a little bit. Maybe I'll get Vlado to join me in a tip-top tarp tip. Maybe we'll try to find a Slovakian tip-top tarp tip. I don't wonder what the Slovak equivalent of Harbor Freight is. I'm gonna go check it out. It's just a guy. It's just a guy named Harbor Freight. Yeah, it's just down the block. We'll go check it out. He's got tarps. It's great. I can't wait.
Sergey have tarp.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm looking so forward to it.
It's going to be awesome.
Be there and spend some time in both Budapest and in Slovakia, and check out the local Land Rover community. So if you are in Hungary, Slovakia, or and are interested in hanging out at the end of July, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to talk to the one individual who emailed us by accident. But again, if you would like to be called out on the show, feel free to get in touch with us. You can head over to Patreon, become a patron of the show. You get all kinds of advanced content, special. You get to sometimes hear what Ike and I have talked about before the show, the comedy stylings of Ike Goss, which is, I don't know if that's a perk or not, but
you will hear the Nando's review before anyone else if you're
exactly
a supporting
right.
member.
It will go there first. And so, if not, head over to the Underpowered Hour shop, grab our stuff. And hey, you know what? We've got our good friend, Dan, in the UK at Retro 80, has T-shirts and stickers. For those of you in the UK who don't want to pay the very expensive shipping for us to send you T-shirts, you can get them directly from Dan, right from the source, drinking from the fire hose of Land Rover art, if you will. And why not pick up some other stuff while you're there? Dan has such fantastic stuff. I can't go to the website because every time I do, I order a ton of stuff because it's so cool.
Wonderful. Yeah,
I don't have wall space. I'm wearing 3 Retro 80 t-shirts today just because
one on
I
top
want
of
to
the
have
other.
them one on top of the other. They're stacked, and throughout the day I just peel them off until I end up with just a bare chest and a mask to leave. So it's really great stuff, and thank you to Dan to help out our listener base in the UK. Those 3 people that listen in the UK. Well, Bob Ives is here right now, so I think the 2 people listening in the UK, they have access to dozens of t-shirts. So each one of them can have 3 or 4 in a different size. And unfortunately, because of the excessive amount of t-shirt talk on this episode, we have run out of time for Ike's review of Nando's. But with any luck, we'll get them on the show inside of this decade. So, Ike, as always, it has been a pleasure. Keep between the ditches, and we'll see you next week.
All right, man. Looking forward to it. Take it easy.